Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. Please sit back, relax, and join Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick for an hour of entertaining information about HOAs and HOA law.
It's May 2nd. Hello, Sacramento. It's a beautiful day. What do you think the weather's going to look like today, Epstein?
Oh, my gosh. Let me take a look out the window. It looks like it's going to be another balmy day, huh, Viana?
Another Saturday balmy day.
Good morning, everyone. Balmy as always.
Well, you know who we are. We're the Saturday HOA Brunch from 9 to 10, KTKZ, 1380 The Answer, or iHeartRadio. We look forward to hearing from some of our listeners. If you want to give us a call, feel free, 888-923-1380, 888-923-1380.
888-923-1380, KTKZ, The Answer. And so we are the Saturday HOA Brunch. HOA, it stands for Homeowners Associations. Mm-hmm. We talk about homeowners association law. And listen up, listen. You wanted the best, and you got it. Today we have live in studio the number one HOA legend in the world, Larry Pothast. Larry is with the Worldwide Management Company Associa. Larry, how are you this morning?
I feel great. I'm a little old, I'm a little tired, I'm a little bald, I'm a little fat, but I'm in great spirits.
You look great. You look great.
Thanks.
So happy you're here. Larry, we are so happy. And who are you with? You are with Associa.
Yeah, I'm with Associa. Associa is the largest management company in the world, managing HOAs. We have offices throughout the world, including the Middle East, South Africa, Australia. We're in Canada and Mexico and the United States.
Wow. And how long have you, a couple years you've been in the industry? I think you said a couple years. How long?
Just a couple. I've been at this 42 years.
42 years.
I had a large management company in Minneapolis and sold it when I was about 38 years old. Took a year off, rode my motorcycle around America. Found out that nobody lives here in the middle of the country, and then throughout that entire time, I was working with the Community Associations Institute at a national level on their research foundation.
I just got back, Larry, from Las Vegas.
Did you go to the conference?
CAI National Conference.
Was that your
Las
first
Vegas.
conference?
First conference.
How'd you like it?
Enjoyed it thoroughly.
Now, that was at Caesar's Palace, wasn't it?
It was at Caesar's Palace.
And, Jonathan, how much time did you actually spend in the conference?
6 hours. Over 72 hours. So no, but they have all kinds of just training modules and events and
it's true. In fact,
it's great. You can take as much from it as you want. I enjoyed it. I was working a booth for Angius&Terry LLP at our firm. But you meet and you mingle. You see all these great faces that are across the board throughout the country, and they all have the same common goal, and that's to enhance the values of communities throughout the United States. So it's a great place where you can just shake hands and mingle with some different folk, hear stories from someone who manages an HOA or community association in Virginia. And then you have the nice young lady that comes over with the lay-on from Hawaii, and she tells you stories about some of the different dynamics that are happening in the Pacific Islands compared to, on the Eastern Seaboard. So I enjoy it, but that's just because, I like to get around and mingle and have a good time.
Well, one of the interesting things about CAI National and CAI in general, it was the very first trade association for community association board members, and it was the first one for managers. And they were the first people to create a designation, a national designation, called the PCAM, the Professional Community Association Manager Designation.
It's like a PhD, is that it?
It's like a master's degree in association management, and it takes, you have to have 5 years experience to get the degree, or to get the designation, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the earliest guys to get it.
One of the first, right?
I was not one of the first 10. I came shortly after those guys, and I was on the first faculty of the PMDP program, and I was also one of the very first certified managers in California through the California Association of Community Managers. I was a founding member of that organization.
So you're like a Hall of Famer in the industry.
Well,
you're coming
I don't
up
know
on,
about
you're
that.
still playing the game.
33 arrests and no convictions.
Yeah.
I've just been really lucky.
I want to hit 2 points. The first point is if people want to hear you speak some more, you're a great speaker, entertaining. You're going to be in town speaking right on the 21st of May at the CAI Northern Chapter Luncheon.
That's correct. At the CAI Northern California Chapter Luncheon, and that's at the Sacramento Hilton Hotel.
Right across the street, we can see it out our window.
That's right, near Arden. It's near Arden.
So there's a big blimp right now going up with your face on it. May 21st, 11:30 to 1:30, and it's going to be. What's the topic going to be about?
We're going to talk about community building. We're going to talk about how boards can work together with managers, and managers can work together with boards to create the most effective interchange they possibly can to enhance the value of the members' assets. And
Fantastic.
It's going to be exciting, fun, witty, charming, entertaining, all of that.
Of course you are. And so our first caller, we're going to give away a free ticket to that luncheon so you could hear more of Larry. Call in 888-923-1380 KTKZ. And Larry, you wanted to say a couple words about our dear friend Dan Kolkel, yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I'm sure most of the people in our industry have already heard about it. I'm not sure that all the homeowner listeners maybe have heard about it. One of the great pioneers of our industry, Dan Kolkel, passed away unexpectedly last week, and he was the founder of Kolkel Management and one of the founders of a broader company called the Management Trust. Just a highly respected individual. He was a past president of the California Association of Community Managers, and his contributions to our industry have made a real difference in the lives of not just board members and managers, but the members of the associations that live within these communities. So there's a public memorial that's being held tomorrow on Sunday at 2 p.m.
Granite Bay Country Club.
At Granite Bay Country Club, and the public is welcome to attend. I think there are going to be an awful lot of people there paying tribute to Dan, and I look forward to seeing everyone there. It's going to be just a very moving event. Very few people touch as many lives as Dan Kolkel did.
Excellent gentleman. Excellent gentleman. So we've talked a little bit for the last 13 weeks about some different issues and dynamics that are related to community associations, homeowners associations, CIDs, all of the above. We've talked about banking. We've talked about reserve studies. We've talked elections. We've talked IDR versus ADR rules. And today we're going to talk with Larry a little bit about some board governance and fiduciary duties and other issues. But what we're going to do first is we're going to check in with a caller. We have, is this Deanna? Deanna, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you turn your radio down?
Turn the radio down, please.
Okay, so you've called in, and now it looks like you've been awarded a free ticket to the Community Associations
All right,
Institute
congratulations.
North Chapter Luncheon. Did you have a question for our attorney, Brad Epstein, Biana Barbu, an attorney, or associate pioneer and expert in the industry?
I have a good question, but I'd like to say thank you for putting that tribute out there for Dan Kolkel. 14 years I've known that man, and he's just been an inspiration to me, a mentor, and very well missed in this industry. And I was very lucky to learn by him and be taught by him. So I take that out there to all the Kolkels in the world. Thank you. Also,
kind words.
I got a question. I'd like to know if you have a 5-member board and you only have 2 members because the other one's decided to resign, and you've got to handle meeting and take care of action, and you can't get anyone else on the board, can you go ahead and conduct a meeting?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, boy. You know, it's such a common problem. I know a lot of associations in the valley, the 2 valleys, and they only have 1 board member. What a great question. Deanna, thank you for calling in. Of course they can do business. Otherwise, the association wouldn't be able to proceed. It's a really difficult thing. Thank you for calling in. Great, kind words for the great man, Dan Kolkel.
Hey,
all right, thank you.
Hang on.
I got home and saw it, so thank you.
Hang on the line, and we'll get your name and address and get you that ticket.
Hey, when we get back from the break, we're going to pull some great information from our expert, Larry Pothast. We'll see you in a few.
If your community association has a good relationship with their current management company, you can stop listening. However, if you are struggling with your current service provider, we'd love to talk with you to see if Omni Community Management would be a good fit. Transparency, education, communication, and trust are just 4 of the qualities that set Omni apart. This is Rolf Crocker, CEO of Omni. Call us at 916-965-8964. That's 916-965-8964. online at omni-mgt.com. That's omni-mgt.com. Omni Community Management, your friend in the community association management industry for over 20 years.
Have you ever heard of the saying a person's home is their castle? Of course you have. But sometimes a construction defect can turn your castle into a catastrophe. If this happens to you, you need proper and professional representation. You need Angius&Terry, LLP. For over 30 years, the attorneys at Angius&Terry have been effectively serving homeowners and community associations, recovering more than $500 million on behalf of their clients. Angius&Terry strives to ensure that your construction defect claims are prosecuted in an aggressive and cost-effective manner. Angius&Terry will also continue to work with homeowners and community associations after the construction defect claims are concluded to make sure that the money received from builders is spent wisely and that your interests are protected during the repair process. Don't let a construction defect turn your castle into a catastrophe. Call Angius&Terry LLP today at 916-567-1400. That's 916-567-1400. Online at angius-terry.com. Angius&Terry LLP.
AM 1380, The Answer.
Oh, some soothing Saturday music in the studio. We're back from our first break. We've already received a call. We've paid tribute to a leader in the industry, and we have an expert, Larry Pothast, with us in studio today. It's a big day. Kentucky Derby, Mayweather Pacquiao, but the most important part of our day, the Saturday HOA Brunch. So welcome back, my friends.
Welcome back to Saturday HOA Brunch. So we're with Larry Pothast, legend of the industry, and we're talking about board members, the key to associations and their duty and everything. The last caller talked about the fact that some boards don't have enough board members, not enough volunteers. Why do sometimes associations can't have enough volunteers? I mean, they're chock full of homeowners, right? That's what happens to homeowners that elect the board members from volunteers, right? Do they have to stick their neck out? What's the deal?
Right. You know, it's a question I ask people all over the country when I travel around for association. I literally travel the length and breadth of America giving board workshops, board training workshops. And the first question I ask is, how many of you have trouble finding volunteers to run for the board? And 100% of the hands go up. And a lot of times the reason is that boards are trying to do too much work. They make it look like it's too much work. If you ask the average board member, have you ever been to a 2-hour board meeting? Every hand in the room goes up. 3 hours. Every hand, it goes all the way. I've had people raise their hands for 10-hour board meetings. They've been to 10-hour board meetings. And who in their right mind wants to serve on a board that meets for 10 hours?
Yeah, I don't know very many individuals that have an extra 10 hours a month to commit to volunteering for their community association.
But some do. But the people that do, Jonathan, are probably not the people you want leading your multi-million-dollar not-for-profit corporation.
Now, what do you mean by that? How do you get that multi-million-dollar corporation?
Well, let's say that you serve on the board of an association and you have 100 units, Brad, and Viana, that you own one of those units and it's worth $300,000. That's one person whose investment is $300,000 in the association. But we have 100 owners like Viana who own units that are average value of $300,000. Jonathan, I'll test you on this because, what's 100,000 times, or what's 100 times 300,000?
I'm going to say 30 million.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Not bad. He knows those big numbers.
We're all sitting here in the studio absolutely flabbergasted that you knew that off the top of your head. You're a college boy, huh?
Well, no, I was educated, unfortunately, in public schools with no college degree. But I did, fortunately, wear sandals today, so I used my fingers and toes, just drew some numbers on the wall. And
the important thing is that you knew that it was $30 million.
It's a lot of cheddar.
If you're on the board of that association, you're managing a multi-million-dollar not-for-profit corporation whose assets are $30 million that you're charged to protect. They're not your personal assets, but the board is charged to maintain, protect, and enhance the value of the assets of all of the members. So if you do a great job, then Viana's property values are going to be protected, and if you don't, then they're not going to be as protected.
I'm going to be up in arms if they're not protected.
Well, I'll be worse than up in arms because I know how this game is played, and I'll hire my lawyer I'll hire somebody like Brad Epstein, and he'll say, okay, you violated your fiduciary obligation to this member. You made decisions that negatively affected his property values. I'm going to come after you.
Let's underline that. So
Yeah,
you said
fiduciary, right?
Fiduciary obligation. So what does fiduciary obligation mean? What exactly does that mean, Larry? That gets thrown around a lot, like a weapon.
It's a fiduciary. Being a fiduciary as a board member, it's one of the things managers always say to boards to scare the hell out of them when they don't want to do something that the board wants them to do. So, I don't know, that may violate your fiduciary obligation. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to give the legal definition, but I will tell you that in our operation, in the operation of associations, it means that each board member is in a position of the highest level of trust that you can find under the law. Is that true, Brad?
That's it exactly. It's a reasonable decisions in the best interest of all the owners, and you need to consult with experts on items that are outside your expertise, right?
That's the other thing, and that's why people don't want to serve on the board. They don't want to serve on the board because board members make it too much work. They don't realize their job isn't to operate the association. That's the job of the manager they hire, if they have a manager. In the old days, and I've been at this 42 years, in the old days, the idea was that the managers would operate the associations within policies made by the board, and the policies came from the advice of the manager and other outside experts that the association board would hire. Today, it's almost the opposite of that. Managers feel like their job is to assist the board in the operation of the community, which means the onus for operation is on board members who are volunteers, who have not been trained, or they're not chemists, they're not lawyers, they're not insurance brokers specializing in HOA law or HOA insurance, they're not agronomists or horticulturalists
or accountants,
and they're not they've never been to the Built Up Roofing Institute, and yet managers will bring them three bids, and say, here, choose one.
Oh, boy.
Rather than saying, here, this is a company we've had a lot of luck with in the past. That's not a guarantee they're going to be a great company for you, but past performance is never a guarantee of current or future performance, but we've had a lot of luck with these guys. We recommend that you hire these guys. Or a roofer comes and says, you need to put on X kind of roof, and that's going to cost you $40,000. And the board members get together and they huddle at their meeting, and rather than saying, we have the advice of 3 roofing experts, they all agree that this is the kind of roof based on the request for proposal that we've had an expert draw up. And, the professional, the guy who drew up our RFP, says to go with company A. We should go with company A. Instead of that, they start perusing and analyzing the roofing bids.
My brother-in-law's a roofer. He can do a roof, and he said he can save us $5,000.
Exactly. That kind of conflict of interest comes up all the time, although I will tell you that it's not a conflict of interest to have your brother give us a roofing bid. The only problem you're going to have is if you decide to talk about it with the board and be part of that decision. You can do it. Your brother-in-law can do it as long as you recuse yourself from the conversation. But we're back to what is the board's responsibility, right? And the board's responsibility is not to operate. It was never imagined by any of us who were around in the beginning of the industry that board members were going to actually operate these communities, that they were going to feel like they needed to know about roofing or landscaping or asphalt seal coating or any of that stuff.
It was often, it's spoken at some of the luncheons that I've attended. Originally, you thought you were going to be maintaining fences and just painting houses.
We were going to listen. The whole thing was keeping the grass green, the siding painted, and the roof from leaking. That was going to protect the value of the asset. And then, of course, Viana, lawyers got involved.
Oh, no. Always trouble.
Yeah. And I've thrown Brad all the softball questions because, well, I don't like him very much, and I love you. So, the point is that because these are unskilled, untrained, unqualified, unlicensed, uncertified board members who don't practice HOA anything as a professional discipline, if I'm a professional licensed contractor, or for example, I have a PCAM, a Professional Community Association Manager designation, the highest designation there is in professionals in our industry. If I give an association a piece of advice and they start second guessing my advice and substituting their unskilled, untrained, unlicensed, undesignated opinion for mine, are they in trouble? if they substitute their uninformed opinion for mine?
Yeah, I would say they are, because that's exactly how you breach your fiduciary duty. You're substituting your own judgment, which you don't have in that particular area. You don't have any expertise in that, and you're substituting for someone's judgment who does. So, as part of fiduciary duty that board members have, you can retain and consult experts, and you actually should, especially when you're untrained in a certain area.
Well, I think that's right. We believed in the beginning that these guys the boards would get together for an hour or so every other month, maybe an hour and a half every other month, receive the reports of the professional manager and the other professionals they hire, and then go home and watch TV. We never imagined. The guy who invented the industry, the modern industry, is a guy named Byron Hankey. And Byron was with the Urban Land Institute. He was a professional planner, and he's the guy who got $100,000 together from the Urban Land Institute, founded National CAI, the Community Associations Institute, taught developers, managers, real estate agents, lawyers, what it was these things were and why we needed them and how they were built. And none of us believed that it was going to be a lot of work. But now boards think they have to solve all these problems internally. They reinvent the wheel. I've been at this 42 years. I don't think I've heard a new question or a new problem in the last 25. But board members get elected every year, and sometimes 3 of the 5 board members, or 3 of 7, or whatever, get turnover on a board. They're brand new, and they reinvent the wheel. There's no institutional memory to carry them along, and at some point, they started to believe that they knew more than the professionals, or they didn't want to spend the money to ask professionals the right decisions, and they don't think of it in terms of protecting the value of the members' assets.
You bring that up, but the thing that I noticed as we jump back to the Community Associations Institute National Conference is what I enjoy also is seeing the community association volunteer leaders actually engage in these organizational events and come out, and they get a little bit more insight, education, and actually meet vendors outside of a board meeting, which is nice to see when you say, oh, well, yeah, I'm in a community association board in Florida. It is,
Jonathan, but what they tend to do is they come to get free legal advice, or they come to get free advice about saving their bushes or changing their
soliciting?
landscaping. Well, no, but they're coming for free advice. One of the things about HOA boards, and rightfully so, is they need to do everything they can to save the members' money. These aren't dues these members pay; they're assessments. If you don't pay your dues, we throw you out of the book club, or we throw you out of the but if you don't pay your assessments, we take your home away from you. It's a big responsibility, and they need to do everything they can in a business-like way to act professionally and make professional decisions.
Larry, what I want to know from you when we come back is what can associations do? What should they do? How should they run their association? And what's a good governance model? I want to hear from your
Great, we'd love to talk
experience.
about that when we come back.
Hey, Frank Jolly, you're doing a great job on the sticks, buddy. Coffee's still hot in the break room. Brad's running out to grab a cup as we speak. We're going to go to commercial break. If you have a question, give us a call, 888-923-1380, KTKZ, The Answer. We'll be back shortly. Thank you.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When our daughter Emma was born, we took a look at our credit card debt. It was not a good situation. We had been running up balances for quite some time, and it became a crisis. Finally, my wife Vicki said, call Trinity.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976 to talk to a certified counselor.
We called them, they contacted all of our creditors, they stopped the collections calls, they got the interest reduced, and they put us on a plan for success.
Trinity will consolidate your bills, stop collections calls, wipe out late fees, reduce your interest, and possibly improve your credit score. You'll save thousands.
We are now completely debt-free, and we will never be in the spot we were again, thanks to Trinity.
If your debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is John.
I'm Vicki. And I'm Emma. And we're debt-free for keeps.
That's 1-800-990-6976.
This is AM 1380, The Answer.
An hour's nothing. We used to, usually it's a couple hours.
How long was poker time when you guys did
it
that?
was an hour and a half. But that wasn't the same thing.
Hey, we're back from the commercial break. I always enjoy when I get put on the edge of my seat and Frank Jolly jumps up and says, "Hey guys, it's time to rock and roll." So we're back. 38 seconds we've been back.
We're with Larry Pothast with Associa, worldwide management company. What countries is Associa in?
Well, we're in South Africa. We're in the Middle East, in Dubai, for example. We're in Canada. We're in Mexico, and we're expanding every single month, it seems like.
I heard that Associa manages the tallest building in the world. Is that true?
We do, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. That's true. Yeah.
I wonder what kind of recreational facilities, common area they have in that development.
You can't even imagine it. It's there's a hotel space, there's a commercial retail upscale shopping space, and when I say upscale, I mean you and I couldn't even walk through the door. Okay.
So you're suggesting we might need to invest in a Bugatti if we were going to cruise into the United Arab Emirates.
Jonathan, I'm not sure they'd ever let you in, but Brad and I might squeak by.
Right.
All right, Larry, so back to my question from before the break. I really want to know, what is a good governance model for associations? So we talked about fiduciary duties and the fact that some board members either neglect that or substitute their own experience for experts' opinions. What can associations do to run effectively, and what's a good governance model?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Viana, because there's a lot of talk today about a variety of governance models, and one of the most popular here in California that's up and coming is being promoted by the California Association of Community Managers, and it's called policy governance. And it was the idea of
PG. They refer to it as PG.
No, they don't. They just call it policy governance, Jonathan. And it's been around a long time for not-for-profit corporations. It was developed by a guy from England who devised it for non-profit associations, mostly trade associations like the Heart Fund or the Cancer Society or something like that. But it's migrating down to homeowner associations, and it involves going away once a year for strategic planning for the board, and also to educate the board, get them up to speed when they're brand new, and them meeting just to make policy and to hear progress toward the goals that they set at their strategic planning meeting on an annual basis. And it's untried nationwide. There's a difference. I think the challenge that people are finding with it, and not to say that it's failing, but the challenge people are finding with it is that national trade associations like CAI National or California Association of Community Managers or the Heart Fund, the Cancer Society, or any of those other nonprofit corporations are not equity corporations. And every homeowners association is a members equity corporation. So the people who volunteer for those other national trade associations, they don't have equity in the corporation. And in community associations, every member has equity, and every board member, by extension of their membership, has equity, or in most associations.
What do you mean by equity? Can you expand on that?
Because they're part of the association. They have that inter se relationship, a locked-in relationship with the rest of the community by virtue of their ownership of a unit or a home. They have equity in the corporation. They have an undivided percentage of interest in all the common area, and their interest as a homeowner, the value of their asset, is tied to the performance of the board and the advice of the experts that those board members receive.
So is policy governance is the opposite micromanaging, boards that micromanage or manage? What exactly is?
Well, it is. That's the opposite of policy governance. In policy governance, the management, it's funny because most boards don't think about this. And the woman who called in with only 2 board members, you can delegate, if you're a board member, you can delegate all of your authority to somebody else. I'm sure you guys knew that. Viana, you knew that because you're a lawyer.
I knew that.
But you can't delegate any of your responsibility. And people fall down over that idea. They say, well, I'm responsible. I'm the treasurer. I have to know everything. Well, but you delegate the bookkeeping to a professional bookkeeper.
Yeah,
you don't have to be a bookkeeper or accountant.
Right. How many treasurers on boards of directors and community associations say, yes, I actually have a master's degree in accounting?
Yeah, not very many. In fact, I've worked with some over the years, but here's the problem. And it's true that some board members are lawyers also, or insurance brokers, or they have other advanced degrees in professional disciplines the association needs. But when they serve as a board member on those association boards, they can't exercise their professional judgment relative to their profession. Bradley, you're a great attorney. I've known you since you got in the business.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and even though you are, if you were on your homeowners association board, and you're one of the best association attorneys in California, if you serve on your homeowner association board, can you give them legal advice relative to the operation of their association?
No, of course, it would be a bad idea.
Why is that a bad idea, Viana?
Outside counsel.
Besides Brad maybe not knowing what he's talking
Exactly.
Well, I think Brad knows what he's talking about. So it'd likely be a conflict of interest. And also what they sort of teach you in law school right off the bat is if you ever get in legal trouble yourself, you should probably never represent yourself. Get an outside representative. They see things more clearly. They don't have a conflict of interest. They can look at things objectively. They don't have any vested interest or equity in the association. So always great advice. Get outside counsel.
Well, and if you make a mistake legally, if you give us bad legal advice as a board and as an association, we have no recourse against you, right? And your information, your advice, and I don't care how professional you are. I've served on boards of associations I've lived in, and it's always very tricky. Your advice will always be colored subliminally by the fact that you're an equity member of that association. You know, you may love wind chimes, or your mother may love wind chimes. You're on the board, and they're going to vote on no wind chimes, and you're going to have to face your mother the next day and say, yeah, Mom, guess what? We voted your wind chimes out. We can't do it. And the same is true if you're a CPA, or if you're an insurance broker, or you're a real estate broker. You're just not in position to give the board professional advice, even if you have one of those professional disciplines.
And let's look at it from a slightly different angle. And we were talking about this before we got on the air, and that is, so we have these homeowners, individual homeowners, and they volunteer, they're elected by their fellow homeowners to be on the board of directors, and so they are getting paid, how much they're getting paid for this job?
$0.
$0. So, do they get sued? Is this something they should be afraid of being? Should people be afraid of being on the
Brad,
board?
You've been in this business a long time, and I have heard so many people, especially homeowners, in the heat of an argument at a meeting say, you know, if you do this, I'm going to sue you. You know, and the boards all go, oh my God, maybe he's going to sue us. Oh, geez. You know, people can threaten to sue you for almost anything. I remember I was at a meeting about 2 months ago. I was working with a board, training them to be more professional, using a consultative management governance model.
Ooh, there you go.
But they were dealing with a dog, and it's the classic barking dog issue. Woman comes in and says, my neighbor's dog has been barking. This is the third month I've been here talking to you guys. I'm not going to put up with this. I called the manager. They didn't return my call. I emailed them. They emailed me back. But nobody's done anything about the barking dog. I haven't slept for a month. If you don't do something about the dog, I'm going to sue you. And one of the board members, who was a very nice guy.
Was it a cute dog?
Well, I don't know. But the board member was a very nice guy, very gentle guy. And he was like, oh, God, we're going to get sued by this woman. What should we do about the dog? Well, the fact is there's not much you can do except call animal control, urge her to call animal control. You're not going to turn to your neighbor on the board and say, okay, Harry, go get my shotgun. Let's go kill the dog. You can't do that. I mean, people
then for sure you're going to have a lawsuit.
Absolutely. People can threaten to sue you about anything. You have directors and officers liability insurance to protect you as a board if you make an error in judgment.
D&O policies, right?
D&O policies, they are the salvation of our industry. That protects you. If you're acting in good faith, taking the advice of your experts within the business judgment rule, using the business judgment rule, you will be safe.
So what do you mean by D&O insurance policy? What does that refer to?
It's directors and officers liability insurance. So if the board makes an error in judgment, but they make it in good faith based on the advice of an expert, not based on their own internal conversation, if they are not asking the advice of an expert, they may have a problem. And if they get the advice of an expert, they need to take it, right or wrong. They may in their gut say that's the wrong advice, we don't believe it, then go get the advice of a second expert. But if they both agree, take their advice.
And, you know, I find it interesting that it's not taken advantage of more, but all of the industry partners and vendors that service boards of directors are more than willing to come out and walk your project or sit down with the board of directors, meet with them face to face, and offer and give out that free advice. They want to engage with the boards.
And I will tell you that every management company, and I don't care where they are, anywhere in the world, every management company knows the things I'm telling you today,
even in Dubai,
but they're afraid to talk to their boards about it because the boards aren't used to operating the way we're talking about, and so they feel like, well, if I bring this up or if I try to train the board, they look at me with a jaundiced eye anyway. They think maybe I'm just in it for the money. Then they feel like the board won't listen to them. Associa, the company that I work for, annually we have board training seminars across the country. I just got back from Florida and we did, I think it was over 1,000 board members.
You saw Paul Terry down in Florida.
I did see
recently.
Paul Terry. Yeah. Paul Terry is a really good friend of mine, an old friend. I was around when Paul Terry got into the business, and I saw him down there. But boards are hungry for this information and hungry for the idea that they aren't the ones who are supposed to do this. I was in Maui. We gave this workshop to 500 board members, and at the end, they gave us a standing ovation. And it wasn't just our customers. It was a whole market full on Maui. And boards don't want to work this hard, but nobody's ever showed them the way not to. And if we use policy governance or consultative governance, and we say, get the advice of experts, listen to them, then life is a lot easier.
Excellent. So we are here with Larry Pothast with Associa. We are lucky that he's here today, and he is talking about policy governance, breach of fiduciary duty, how board members will not breach their fiduciary duty. We've talked about the elements of fiduciary duty, and primarily we're talking about reliance on consultants. So the other elements of fiduciary duty, Viana, right, that is acting reasonably and in the best interest of all the owners. So you could distinguish board of directors on community associations from, say, a government, right, the Senate or what have you. We could talk about that when we come back. And so we're going to come back. We're with Larry Pothast with Associa.
And I have another question for Larry. I want to know how to deal with difficult personalities on the board and how to deal with a renegade board member who negatively affects your property values.
We're going to do that when we come back. 888-923-1380. If you have a question, I'm going to throw some information out there. Dr. John Carver invented PG, policy governance. When we come back,
John Carver.
When we come back, the fourth quarter of the Saturday HOA Brunch.
Set sail with Newt Gingrich. Get aboard the elegant 6-star Crystal Symphony for a spectacular 7-day cruise from New York to Montreal. And while you're on board, we'll offer stimulating seminars on politics with special guest Newt Gingrich. And we'll top it off with valuable insights on money and investing from Mark Skousen, John Ransom, and Chris Versace. It's the Politics in Your Portfolio cruise, featuring historic ports of call, the royal treatment from one-of-a-kind Crystal Cruises, and up-close and personal experiences with our world-class panel of political and portfolio experts. Everything's included. Fine wines and adult beverages, onboard dining in elegant specialty restaurants, even your gratuities. We set sail September 13th through the 20th, and we're looking forward to seeing you. Don't wait for your chance to set sail aboard the Crystal Symphony from New York to Montreal with Newt Gingrich and our panel of investment experts. Log on to politicsinyourportfolio.com. Politicsinyourportfolio.com. Once again, politicsinyourportfolio.com.
Hi, I'm Morgan Fussell. My company, Broadband Agreements, negotiates cable television and broadband right of entry, access, and compensation agreements for your communities. At Broadband Agreements, we offer a free review of all agreements with a signed letter of authorization. Broadband Agreements will improve your community's income and or savings, or you don't pay us a dime. Visit us at broadbandagreements.com. That's broadbandagreements.com. Or call me, Morgan Fussell, directly at 916-939-5026. That's 916-939-5026. Broadband Agreements online at broadbandagreements.com or 916-939-5026.
The challenges presented by today's economy and rebounding housing market is forcing many homeowners association boards of directors to operate their HOAs more like a business. It's a balancing act of trying to stay solvent and still provide homeowners with quality amenities and services. One of the main challenges HOA boards are facing is attempting to recover unpaid HOA fees owed by delinquent homeowners. Collection efforts are often very time-consuming. If you want to get the HOA fees collection monkey off of your back, call ATC Assessment Collection Group. ATC is an attorney-supervised collection company providing collection and foreclosure services to HOAs in both California and Nevada's most recognizable communities. Get back to what you actually volunteered to do as an HOA board member. Effectively oversee your community. Call ATC today at 916-641-1410. That's 916-641-1410. Online at atcacg.com. That's atcacg.com. ATC Assessment Collection Group.
This is AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
Hey, we're back for the fourth quarter of the Saturday HOA Brunch. If you'd like to call in, give us a call, 888-923-1380. We have a special guest, industry expert Larry J. Pothast in studio from Associa. And as usual, the rambunctious Romanian Viana Barbu and the suit himself, Sir Bradley J. Epstein. So here we are, the fourth quarter of the HOA Brunch. It's going to be fun.
Now, Larry, we've talked about policy governance and how associations can run efficiently. But what I want to know is, how do you deal with difficult personalities on the board? How do you deal with that at meetings? How do you deal with maybe board members who don't want to go along with a decision? How do you deal with that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. It's one of the most troubling things about serving on a board, and one of the things that drives volunteers away from board service. On almost every board, there's one or two people, and those are the people that the board plays to and tries to convince of the rightness of what the other board members think. What happens is we'll start talking about a rule that somebody has approached us about, or the manager will recommend a policy or a rule, and all the board members in their discussion talk not to each other, but they talk to that one or two people on the board, and they won't vote unless they seem to get agreement from those two people. The discussion goes on forever. And, the idea of voting is that they don't have to agree. Those two people, you can't give one person or two people authority on the board.
I don't want to, question this person calling in. I hope it's not a rogue board member. We have a call from Garth. Garth, are you with us?
I am.
How are you doing this morning?
Hey, long time caller, first time listener, guys.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Well, you've been on hold for a while. Is that what you mean?
Hey, I got a quick question for Larry.
All right, bring it to us.
On this policy governance versus consultative management, can you go into a little more detail on that? If the policy governance thing is having challenges, what's the sort of next step in getting this thing put together? And I'll take the answer off the air.
Okay.
Thanks for calling, Garth.
I'd like to take just a second, though, and say that they're almost identical. The difference is that consultative governance models take into account the nature of an HOA, that it's an equity members not-for-profit corporation, that it's not just a normal nonprofit association. That's the basic difference. There's some operational elements that I'm happy to talk to you about off the air, but I'm glad you asked the question. Thanks for calling in, Garth.
Yeah, maybe you should attend the luncheon, Garth, on May 21st at the Hilton at 11:30. If you'd have called in first, you'd have gotten a free ticket, but you waited.
Well, I'd like to go back to what Viana was talking about when she asked me about the recalcitrant board member. Listen, there's always some white knight. Before I say any more about this, I want to tell you that I've never met a board member who didn't think that he was acting in the interest of his community. They get elected on some ticket that says, well, we're going to throw the rascals out, and I'm going to do it a different way than they did. And they get on the board, and they find out, especially in California, that they have to do it the same way the other board members did it. They operate under the same constraints. Legally and under the governing documents, the constraints there, they may have an angrier attitude about it, but they still have to make decisions in exactly the same way. Partly because, according to Brad Epstein and Viana, that's the law, and partly because of the Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, and the bylaws, right, and the bylaws of the association. So no matter how badly they think the other board members are doing, when they get on the board, the constraints they operate under are exactly the same. They may find themselves trapped. So
yeah, and it really comes about a lot when board members want to get on the board and kick the old ones out about transparency. Why are you making your decisions in executive session?
Well, and that's a particular pet peeve of mine. I went to my own association meeting a couple of months ago, or a month ago, I guess. We have one of those throw the rascals out guys on the board. He wants to get, and I went, and it wasn't a board meeting at all. A board meeting in California. It's not this way in Nevada, and it's not this way in Hawaii. It's different. It's different in a lot of states, but in California, the board meeting is for the board. Now, you can have an open forum prior to the board meeting, just prior to hear what the members have to say. You can have one afterwards, but once the board meeting begins, it's for the board member to deliberate. The board members sit and deliberate and then come to a decision, and that's what a board meeting is. You don't it's unlike a city council meeting or a county board meeting where every topic on the agenda as it comes up is debated and gets input from the members from the people who are attending. That's not it. When the gavel sounds and the board meeting starts, we thank all the members who attended the open forum, thank them for their input. We invite them to stay and watch their board in operation because it's transparent, but this is the meeting of the board. It's not a meeting of the members.
Excellent.
All right, so I had one more question for you, Larry. How do you deal with the renegade board member, the board member that maybe just goes on his own and enters into contracts and binds the association and then negatively affects your property values?
Well, if you've got a board member who's actually on his own entering into contracts on behalf of the association, you need to contact your lawyer immediately. And you need to get an injunction against that board member. You'll need, if necessary, to sue that board member. You'll need to talk to have your lawyer talk to all the vendors he's entered into a contract with, back you out of those contracts, because no one board member, except the board member authorized by the bylaws or the board, has the authority to sign any of those contracts. Now, in a lot of associations, they'll delegate that authority to the manager. And that makes a lot of sense. The manager should be able to supervise the contractors, should be able to fire them on their own, hire them on their own, because after all, they're the guys, that's part of consultative management governance. But today, boards tend to do that. They tend to hire them and fire them and in consultation with the manager. But no one board member, except that one designated, can do that. Call the lawyer. Call your attorney. Stop those guys. They don't have the right to do any of that. And if they're recalcitrant in a board meeting, they don't like the authority of the rest of the board, that's okay. Vote against them. Everybody gets one vote in a board meeting. Don't be afraid to do it.
Well, what you're saying shows how important it is that an association has a really good management company like Associa. How do you distinguish Associa? Why are they such a great worldwide company? Why is Associa?
How does Associa set themselves apart?
Well, I think that all management companies fundamentally do the same job. And we all say to our customers, look, we're the best there is at what we do. And we all do the same, perform the same services for the most part. It's not what we do so much as how we do it, how we believe in the importance of the customer. Our customer service area is one of the most successful in the country. Not in every case, not in every locale. As we build the company worldwide, we're learning a lot. We're also the only company in the nation with a centralized bookkeeping and accounting service. Our customer shared service center in Dallas. It's a brand new concept for association management. It's been a little bumpy. We've had bumps in the road, but we've ironed most of those out, and now it's proving to be one of the most effective customer service things we can provide.
You've been to Dallas?
We believe in customer service.
Fantastic. We are so happy you are here with us today, Larry. Larry's looking around, he's going, what, that's it? That's the 1 hour? Larry is a very loquacious speaker. He could speak all day on this, and if you want to listen to more, that'll be on the 21st of May, and come to the CAI chapter luncheon.
Hey, Epstein, who you taking in the Derby today? In honor of our call-in line, out of the first stall, I'm taking Ocho.
How about California Chrome? They're not in it this year, huh?
California Chrome's
Nope,
not in there.
nope.
I think Fiona said she's got Carpe Diem. Maybe Larry's got Materiality. I'm not sure. Pacquiao, I hope he wins. Larry, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I
We
really
are going to
appreciate
be
it,
back
guys.
next Saturday, once again.
The Saturday HOA Brunch.
KTKZ 1380.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening, everybody.